All right, welcome everybody. This is Mike Magaro back here with Triple Crown Sports. Happy to have on Don Reynolds with the Don Reynolds Baseball Group and one of our top TC prospect scouts. Don, thanks for jumping on, man. How we doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Good to hear, man. So we just want to talk with you a little bit. I know you've been doing a lot of scouting with the TC top prospects and out at a couple of our tournaments out in Omaha, out in Myrtle Beach, down in Texas, kind of all over the place a little bit. But before we get to the scouting part, give us a little background on how you started in baseball as a player, through high school and college and even professionally.
Yeah, probably my stories starts off very basic, very typical. Playing little league, enjoying playing little league, and playing in your little neighborhood, and playing whatever city you're in is up to the top level you can. And then moving on from that, what we did in Oregon was something called State League, but was basically 15 year olds and 14, and then after that it became Legion baseball, and it was 16 to 18. And we, if you graduated high school in your senior year, you still played on the Legion team. I mean, it was an age deal, which I thought was extremely valuable because you can continue to learn from the older guys. Anyway, that was I went through that as an amateur, well, pretty much, and fortunate enough to have attracted attention from the University of Oregon as a baseball player. Got a full ride, that doesn't happen these days. Got a full ride to University of Oregon as a baseball player. Ended up, I guess, walking on as a freshman football player as well. So I was a dual sport athlete through college as a football, baseball player. I guess the only thing notable about that, I ended up in the Hall of Fame as a football, baseball player at the University of Oregon, which is special. And then after my college career as a baseball player, I was lucky enough to get drafted. I was a low round draft pick as far as things are concerned nowadays. I was an 18th round draft pick. But yeah, I mean, it was just a number. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. It just means I was there, the 18th round selection in 1975. I ended up getting to the big leagues, after 2.5 years. So I sped through our minor league system. But the reason I sped through the minor league system was because I was a baseball player. I was able to play baseball. I understood how to play baseball. And the eyeballs that were on me saw me as a talent, and got a chance to get to the, as I said, got to the big leagues very, very fast. And I had a short major league career, but I had a major league career, and then played some more minor league baseball. But that's kind of my journey. I mean, the biggest part about it is that every year I played, I never thought about where I might be the next year. I focused on the year in which I was playing, playing as well as I could, not worrying about the next level, not worrying about too many things other than, ball strikes. Did I catch the ball? Did I throw the ball? So that was, I kept it real simple. I'll put it that way.
I gotcha. That's probably the best way to keep it, right? You can only be where your feet are and not where they were 10 years ago or 10 years from now, right?
Yeah. Control what you can, put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what were your expectations coming into the TC Top Prospects program as a scout? I know you got some scouting under your belt too.
Well, I mean, the first thing I probably will try to clarify is that, first of all, the Don Reynolds Baseball Group is a separate entity from Top Prospect and Triple Crown. We have a working relationship with, how do I want to call it? An independent working relationship with Triple Crown. All the scouts that are part of this Don Reynolds Baseball Group umbrella, every one of them has a very deep and very extensive pedigree in baseball. We basically, and I think it needs to be understood that we are a separate entity. We're not beholden to Triple Crown. So the reports we write are very independent, very honest. There's no pressure on us to write reports based on Triple Crown or what they might like. It is a very clean, a very unbiased report that we do. So coming in to the, as far as expectations were concerned, I expected that we'd come in, and we've done I guess 5 events with Triple Crown. We come in, we do what we do, which is scout. That's what we do. You know, the other pieces of it with the social media. We're going to do a symposium in Tucson, which will be good because it'll be a question and answer period. But for the most part, our job and what we do is we use our eyes, we use our instincts, we use our background, we use our knowledge to evaluate players. The metrics that people have going on now, they're great. There's no problem with that, but they're just a part. I say this later probably, but they're just another tool in the toolkit. You know, they cannot get out in front. The bottom line is, can the kid play or not? That's when we go out to scout, and that's what we've been allowed to do with Triple Crown. John Casella has allowed us to basically do the things that we naturally do, which is to go and scout. And that's why this is a special program.
Right. Awesome. So that leads me into my next question. Aside from the typical measurables like a 60-yard dash time or arm velo or, you know, the tool can he hit with power, what are some other things you guys are looking for whenever you're out there scouting?
Well, again, I'll answer it from a scouting perspective, and that is, you know, the first things we as scouts look for are not the measurables. We may look at the measurables about runtime, velocity, and it's usually fastball velocity. You know, we're not looking for exit velo as people talk about, or launch angle, some of the other data points that are being used. Because what we typically do is when we walk in, we look at the body. First thing is, what's the body look like? Then the next question is it athletic? And then we might look at arm action just to see, is that arm going to work? Is that arm going to break down at some point, regardless of pitcher or player? And then the ability to field. Can the guy's hands and feet, do they work together for them? Can a guy field? I mean, with the shifting and all that, the bottom line still remains, if a ball's hit at you, you're going to be able to field it, right? And then we look at the ability to hit the ball. Because again, and I was watching a game earlier today, I think they hit 1 home run in the game, but they had a lot of base. They had I think I heard 26 hits in the game. Well, that's pretty special. I mean, hitting ability is important because once we know you can hit, the power's going to come. As you get older and you mature, that power piece is going to come. So we're not that concerned about that. You know, we look for baseball actions. How do you respond on the field, and how do you play the game? Baseball IQ is another factor we talk about. And the fact that this is a game where you have wins and losses, how competitive are you? That's another question we look for. And then we look for other things like toughness, because are you tough physically or are you tough mentally? Because the game of baseball is a little bit of a grind. I mean, if you're in the big leagues, you're playing 162 games. And there's a lot of mental pressure that happens throughout that, as well as the physical piece of it. So those are some of the things. Now, as far as the measurables, those are things we plug in. You know, those are things we plug into the overall painting the whole picture. You know, it's not, but what it seems like is those are leading the charge, where they really are hard to measure. I mean, how do I compare a 14-year-old's measurable to an 18-year-old measurables? You know, I mean, and we've got to get away from that. I can look at a 14-year-old and say, this kid's got a high baseball IQ, or he plays, and so does this guy that's 18. Now I could begin at that time to kind of separate those two. Yeah, the other guy's a little older and more mature. So, I mean, those are the things we will look for. Things. The measurables are really easy, and they're going to change. I mean, if we measure 14, 15-year-olds, I hope to goodness that by the time they're 18, all those measurables have changed, because if they don't, they're not playing anywhere. You know what I mean? And the same thing with guys that are in high school that are 18, same thing with guys that are in college, because those college measurables will not match up to most of the guys at a higher level, because they just haven't had the same amount of reps. So.
Right. I gotcha. So we talked about, exit velo and launch angle, and there's obviously a lot more technology in the game now than back whenever you were playing. Have you seen that technology with the Rapsodo and blast motion and that stuff change the game of baseball, over the years?
Yeah. And it's a sad change, because now we're measuring what do you do as an individual, not what do you do to help us win this game. I thought the idea was to try and win games so that we can win the playoffs, so that we can win the World Series. But the measurables tend to speak to what was my exit velo, what was my spin rate pitching, not what did I do? Did I get a hit when I needed to get a hit to help this team win the game? Did I execute a pitch and throw a strike when I needed for us to win the game? And I think a lot of the measurables we talk about, and I could be wrong, but look at how often they talk about actual team measurables. Wins above replacement. I think that's one of the things they do. Well, that's an interesting thing, but I knew playing with San Diego that if Don Reynolds is playing and Dave Winfield isn't playing, they don't have as good a chance to win. They're going to have a better chance to win if Dave Winfield's playing. So that wins above replacement is just who's the better player, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. So, right. I mean, it's a fancy way to say this guy's better than this guy. Well, we know that. So so I guess we have turned the game more into such an individually focused thing that we're losing sight of the real goal, which is to win as a team. And that's the sad part. I mean, looking back now, because that was the feature when I was in college, when I was in high school, college, and professional ball, major leagues, that was the idea. We got to win this game. We got to find a way to beat the Dodgers. If we can beat the Dodgers, and whoever gets, if it's a bloop single that hits it that has 50 exit velocity, that's fine. We don't care. Just got to win the game. So right. That's what I'm seeing, I think. And what's happening with some of the younger kids with all these measurables is, if I'm a 14-year-old and I look at my measurables and I'm in the 50th percentile, well, why should I continue to play? Why not go play lacrosse? Why not play soccer, where I might have a chance to be better? But if I'm already so far behind my peers, then why should I continue down this road that obviously what you're telling me is that I'm a failure at this? Well, had I done that, I would have never played in the major leagues. Had I done that even in pro ball, I wouldn't have played in the major leagues. I had our outfield coordinator in instruction league tell me that, well, Donnie, just enjoy playing the game. You don't have much more time left. Well, what kind of positive statement is that? So if I had listened to him and gone to that way, then I would have probably just said, well, why bother coming back to spring training? And that's what a lot of the numbers are doing, I think, is that they're discouraging kids. They're great from the standpoint of telling them this is where you are. Now, the other piece is, this is where you are. What do we need to do to get you here? What do we need to do to move you from where you are to a better place? And that's possible. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you think with all the use of it, and you see all the Rapsodo numbers and everything else out there, and people are using that as scouting evaluations, what do you think's getting missed from all that data and all those analytics and everything from the scouting side?
Well, I think the game isn't played by numbers. It's played by people. So you have to get to know the character, the competitiveness, the passion, and all those intangibles that tell you who's going to play. Anybody could sit there in the park and go, well, this guy throws 95, or this guy, Rapsodo just says his spin rate is this and that. The question I would ask, does he throw a strike when he needs to throw a strike? This guy's exit velocity is X and this and that. Well, can he hit in the ninth inning when we need somebody to get a base hit? Or is this just what he's done in a tryout situation? The showcase, I think, is one of the worst things that we have going, because if I go to a showcase, I want to show what I can do. I'm going to swing as hard as I can. If I get 5 at-bats and catch one, then that's what's publicized. Nobody publicizes the fact that I punched out 4 other times. They talk about the one ball I hit 500 feet. So I think a lot of what most of us in baseball don't have a problem with the data, the Rapsodo, with the blast motion, with TrackMan. It's good information, but it's information. And then you also need to look at when you get that information. By the time I plug that into a report, it's dated. It is past due. It is done. That's what the person did then. What are they going to do now? I mean, scouting is about projection. I project what this person will be down the road. Those numbers tell you exactly this is where he is right now. And that's okay. As long as in between that, we figure out a way. I've got a projection where he's going to go. These numbers tell me where he is. How do I fill in the blank there? How do I get him from where we know he is to where we think he might be? So I think we can't lean too heavily on the data, but by the same token, you can't ignore the data. I mean, and for some reason, people think that data wasn't used. I already knew who threw hard. I already knew when I'm playing, I didn't need anybody to tell me this guy's got a lot of spin rate on his break ball. Well, it breaks hard. I didn't need anybody to tell me that Dave Parker, when he hits a baseball, it's going to be hit hard. I don't need necessarily know that it came off the bat at 105 or 110. I don't care. I know that he hits it hard. So those numbers probably just justify what we know, but it looks like it's like the cart in front of the horse. It's getting to the point where that's what we're talking about. And we're not talking enough about how do I get this player better, regardless of what the numbers say. So
right. I gotcha. It's definitely a different day and age, and I agree 100%. You know, you might be able to go out there and be a big, strong kid and go 10 for 10 with 10 home runs in a tryout or a showcase day, but then at the end of the day, can you hit 95 on the inside corner whenever there's 10,000 people screaming at you, type thing? And those are the things that you guys look for. But switching gears a little bit, talking about social media a little bit and what gets posted out there and tweeted out there and everything. What are your thoughts on the use of social media, not only by players, but also their parents, their coaches, the club organizations that they're within? Obviously, we live in a world of instant, communication through social media if need be. What are your thoughts on that? And, from being a former professional scout, what were some thoughts or what did you hear from like ownership groups within Major League Baseball or within baseball teams?
I'll tell you a couple things. I will not use names, but social media, we would use it from the scouting standpoint maybe as another piece of data to scout players. Information that players put out on social media, and you may have been 15 when you put it out. You may have been at a party. You may have been doing whatever. You may have said some things that once they go to social media, they live forever. We have people assigned in most organizations. Matter of fact, I would almost say all of them have people assigned. Their job is, if we have interest in Mike Magaro as a player, go back and search his Twitter feed. Go back and search his Facebook feed. Go back and search anything with Mike Magaro in it, because we want to know who we're talking about. And I mean, I've been told straight up, no, we're no longer interested in this kid because of some things that showed up on his Twitter feed. And he might have been 16, and been stupid. So that what my point is, you got to be careful what you put out there. It lives forever. I mean, how we use the Twitter feed was to track them. Also use the Twitter feed to kind of get updates on scheduling and so on. And with the way things are now, I mean, if I were on Twitter as a player, I would make sure that I told coaches and people where I was playing. When the tournament started, I would tell them my desire is to play at Division I. This is what I play, and this is my schedule. Because I read your numbers and I could care less. I'll be honest, because I don't know who you hit 420. I don't know who you're hitting 420 against. I have to see you. I mean, the other thing is those Twitter feeds where you send some video, it gives me a chance to see you. That's a good thing. But as far as the promoting you and so on as a player, coaches, I needed to see guys. I was one of those, I got to lay eyes on this. It's great. I know where you are. I'll lay eyes on it and I'll make up my own mind. And as far as coaches are concerned, I think it's important to to be very communicative to the scouts, college recruiters, so that we know where to find you guys. You know, your rosters. I mean, come on, really? They need to be exactly accurate. They need to be accurate. I can't be looking at 3 number 14s on the field. Figure it out. I mean, there's a lot of numbers. Give somebody 14 and the other guy wants it, too bad. Get it next year, you know, or make it 28, 2 times 14. I don't know, but those rosters coming in, that's what we rely on. If I want to know who's on Mike Magaro's team, I'm going to look at the roster, because I may not have time or want to take time to come talk to you, and you may not want to give me that time to talk to you. So there's a variety of things that, and I probably got into as far as the social media is concerned. I think it's important that kids are smart about it. Parents are smart about it. You know, yeah, we realize you want to play at a higher level. Well, but give us the information that will allow us to see you and help you get to that higher level.
Right. Absolutely. Gotta be smart about it. Like you said, even though there might be a delete button, somebody can still find an old tweet and dig it up, and
there you go.
Everything like that. So with the TC Top Prospects camp and tournament coming up here out in Pathway, Arizona, in a few weekends, what's the message you really want to convey to the players and the teams that you guys scouted and everything?
I'll tell you what, I'm excited about this one piece, this one day, more than probably anything we've done. We've scouted you guys. We've gone out and looked at you guys. We think you are talented. So now thinking you're talented is one thing. And now the next thing we're going to try and do is give you our information. I mean, myself, I've been in the game probably 40 years, and I got a lot of knowledge. And, you know, I would love to say the knowledge I have is what I came up with. No, I've gotten it from a lot of guys. I was talking about my roommate Ozzie Smith this earlier, talking about Doug Raiders, and I can talk about Gaylord Perry's, and I can talk about, I mean, there's just tons of guys I can talk about, you know, having been around Ken Griffey Jr. and worked with him as dad and so on. All of that is a matter of gathering information that has helped shape my ability to evaluate and to coach and so on. So this is going to be a great opportunity for these kids coming. This is going to be an opportunity for them to ask the questions that they have, the parents to ask the questions they have, because you don't know what it's like when you start this scouting process, this recruiting process, and it can be very, it can be very tense. It can be very difficult. And not that we're going to have all the answers, but we're going to try and help you navigate through it. As far as on the field, we're not going to teach you as though you're a superstar. We're going to teach you the basics of the game. As a shortstop, this is where you need to be on a ball hit to right center field. The game is pretty basic. You know, as a hitter, you need to look, you know, and you need to understand that, you know, this guy's got a ball that's sinking. You can't try and lift him. You got to learn how to hit this ball, maybe middle the other way. It's all, I mean, you got to learn your skill set, and then you got to know how your skill set works in the game. So I'm really looking forward to this, because we've got guys that have spent so many years in the game, have gained so much knowledge in the game. And here's an opportunity that they get to impart it on guys. I'm really happy that we're going to be doing not only the workout day, but also we'll be in the dugout coaching the games and talking to kids during the course of the game. So it's going to be I think it's going to be a real, very enlightening, very challenging, and they need to come ready with notepads and ready to write this information down, because there's going to be a lot of great information. Mike Toomey, who's been in the game a long time, East Coast guy, scouted, coached, and so on. It's going to impart a lot of information. Rene Gallo, he's coached and scouted guys from Latin America and seen guys raw and so on. You know, you got guys like Rodney Davis, who's been around a long time. His son's playing so in the big leagues with the Oakland again. And it's just, there's such a variety of guys that you can learn from. So I'm excited about it. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah. We're excited for it too, man. We're excited
Good.
to get them out there and see what they got and everything. Do you have any like specific advice for the parents, not only of the players that are coming out for TC Top Prospects, but being in the stands, I know I saw you in Omaha and you're sitting right there, at the backstop in the stands and chatting it up with a lot of the parents. Do you have any specific advice, that you would give them after being around them a lot this summer, not only just players, but the players' parents?
Yeah, and it comes probably from all of my years of scouting, amateur scouting. Just love your players. Just love your kids. Be a parent. You're not the coach anymore. You cheer them, you support them, you pump them up, you're positive for them, because I guarantee you they're beating themselves up enough. They do not need your help. So, and I would encourage them to play multiple sports. You don't know what talent might show up as a guy that is a basketball player playing baseball, or football player playing baseball, or soccer player playing baseball, or lacrosse. I'm probably gonna leave out a sport. Somebody will be mad, but there you go. Too bad. But I encourage them to play multiple sports, because when we go to scout, either college wise recruiting, I should say, or as pro scouts, we're looking for athletes. Okay. In fact, our first part of our reporting form is looking for the athletes. So I want to see how athletic you are. And so as from a parent, just let them play different sports, continue to encourage them and just be there for them. I mean, and that's all you can do. I know how hard it is to watch your son go 0 for 4, because that, geez, he's coming to the house and what do I do? You just gotta let him vent. You gotta let him throw or whatever he's gonna do, but you gotta love him. I mean, yeah, if you start telling them what they did wrong, you don't need to. They're already telling themselves what they did wrong. Just be a parent, and
right.
The coach is coach, and be a parent. So if you want to be a coach, get out of the stands, get after it. Let's go.
Right. Well, I thought it was interesting too. Whenever I saw you there in Omaha, I think you had it was your son that both of you were evaluating, and you were teaching him the ropes and everything out there too. And that's I know I didn't have this on my pre-questions. Do you and him ever talk about, later on the car ride home from the field, players, and does he say, "Oh, I missed on this guy," or what's that dynamic like?
Well, it's great because Isaac is a baseball kid. Unfortunately, he grew up around me. He's been to so many. My daughter Simone is too, because I drag him to ballparks and things. And funny, Trouble with the Curve comes to mind when I think of my daughter. But my son he's quiet, and he's learning. He knows more about it than he realizes, and so I'm trying to get him just to recognize that. Players are coming to him and talking to him. I'm going, "Here, Isaac, you're not the scout. I'm the scout. What are they talking to you about?" Which is great, and yeah, he's learning it. He said this is what he wants to do, is he wants to get into scouting, coaching, probably scouting. And I think that comes back to encouraging your kids to do what they like to do. I mean, I am not forcing him to follow my path in the least, because I think that's a mistake. I mean, my family has a pretty deep history in baseball, and it's none of us were forced to do it. My brothers didn't get into baseball because of me. They got into it because they cared and they loved it. And that's what I hope happens with my son. He's doing it because he loves the game. Now, I mean, I'm sure, hopefully he loves his dad, but he loves the game of baseball.
I'm sure he does.
So it's great. It's great because it kind of is a bridge. I mean, I'm a little older gentleman, and then he's there, and the players, they like talking to him because he's been there. He's been through it, and he's still in it, because he's gonna go to a junior college. You're back to junior college here, probably into September, I think is when he's going back. But so it's a great dynamic. I enjoy having him with me. I enjoy even the other players, and you're passing on whatever little limited knowledge you have to these guys, and hopefully it'll cling, it'll stick to them, because every one of the guys that are part of our group have a passion for the game of baseball. It's the love of the game is why we do it. The respect for the game, and those in it. Guys like yourself who are doing this right now, John, who's involved in it, the coaches on all these teams. I mean, come on, really, you want to coach a 14U team and spend your summer doing it? Come on, the money they're paying you, unless I'm missing it, it can't be worth spending the time with your family compared to being on the field with 14-year-olds at 8 o'clock in the morning in Omaha. And it just can't work that way. So all of these people that are involved in the game, I say kudos to them. I mean, it's great to see all of these kids, because I look back on my life and what do they call that? Pay it forward. I had tons of coaches that paid it forward. And now I'm trying to pay it forward and pay it back, because without that encouragement, without that solid foundation of people that said, yeah, you can. And it's like, well, okay, because we doubt ourselves enough and we need somebody to help encourage us to continue on. So I don't know if I answered your question about Isaac, but trying to keep him moving, and he loves it. And as long as he wants to do it, I want him there.
No, that's great stuff, man. That's great stuff. So the TC Top Prospects, it's in its first year, with having this partnership or association with the Don Reynolds Scouting Group, where I know we worked with you guys and you went to, like you said, 5 different tournaments that we ran around the country and evaluated higher level 14, 15-year-olds that were then selected to be put on this team to go out to Arizona. But what about the TC Top Prospects or this program do you think is different from some others that are out there doing something very similar?
I would say a couple of things. First off, when we started negotiations or conversations with Triple Crown, the conversation, and I remember John saying, and John Cassell saying, that we're not just looking to get teams to come to our tournaments. We want higher level teams. Well, that's great. From a scouting standpoint, we want to scout better talent. But the impression I got was that this would be different than most of the other organizations that are out there, which seem to be, unfortunately, if you can pay, you can play, as opposed to, the game has always been, if you can play, you can play. Now it's gotten to the point where the danger is we're losing so many good athletes because of financial reasons, and Triple Crown struck me as a group that was not going to be caught up in that pay to play. I looked at, I don't know, but it seemed like most of their team entry fees into their tournaments was extremely reasonable. And you got professional scouts sitting there scouting you, and that in itself, the pedigree of the guys that work with Don Reynolds Baseball Group is phenomenal. So Triple Crown's got the great approach to, again, the tournaments they put on, how they do it. And then they were smart, and I'll say smart enough, to bring in a group that is unmatched. I mean, most of these other organizations, they can't match these guys. I mean, I used to go to other organizations' tournaments, and I look at a guy, and I'm talking to a kid that I'd seen in college 2 years ago, and he's scouting. And I'm going, the guy sitting up here has been scouting 40 years. And the report he's going to write is going to have a little bit more credibility than what you have. Not that the kid that's only been doing it for 2 years is bad, but he just doesn't have the depth of knowledge. So from that standpoint, Triple Crown has done a great job of bringing in big guns to do what they do. We've got a great relationship. I think it will get better. I mean, obviously, anytime you start something, there's a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but there are some things that you want to go back and look at and adjust. And that's okay, because I have a good conversation with John, and John and I are pretty much in conversations all the time. So that's important. If Triple Crown had said, this is the way we want you to do things, this is what we want you to do, that's not going to fly well with guys who basically are retired and they don't need it. I'll be honest. It's not like, they need this job. They like doing the job as long as they're allowed to do the job as a scout. The social media piece, which is we're all learning because it's not something we grew up in. My niece would say that we're aliens to the social media, or immigrants, whereas you guys, like yourself, you're natives. And so it comes easier to you. John's kind of in between there. I don't know where he is because he's learned how to handle it. We're going to get better at it. We will get better at it. We'll understand the social media piece. But as I try to get John to understand, as a scout, I didn't put my thoughts out there for everybody to know. I mean, that is just so counterproductive productive for us as scouts. I'm not telling the guy next to me what I really think of a player. I might say, yeah, he looks like he's good. So social media it's going to take us a little while to get by there. But I guess to answer your question and to be more concise, Triple Crown's got it locked up right now. They're ahead of the game because of the scouts, the pedigree of the scouts that they have there, how they're trying to do this thing, how the reports are getting back to these people. They're following through. I mean, if I'm a parent and I go to a tournament and they say that scouts are going to be there, well, I want to see them there. Well, we're there, and we're there, and we're going to stay there for all the teams, and we're going to write reports on the guys that play well, at least in front of us at that time. That doesn't mean just because we don't write a report on a kid, he's not a good player. It just means he maybe didn't play well that day. Maybe he was 0 for 3 and we don't see him again. It happens, and hopefully we can circle back and see him again. Right. So Triple Crown is special in that they have recognized that they can make a lot of headway in another area by making sure that the parents get accurate, unbiased reports on their kids. A lot of organizations send you a report that's a little inflated because they want you to keep coming back. We don't do that. And that's what the great part about being separated from Triple Crown is. We don't have to do that. The report we write is going to be accurate and it's going to be unbiased without any undue influence from anybody else, which is what Triple Crown expects and wants. So there you go.
Right. Awesome. No, I love that, because if you're not real with them, how are they ever going to know? Right.
Well, that's what we're trying to do.
Right.
We try to be real with them from not only the standpoint of what we saw, but what we think they can do. I mean, some kids, well, he was 0 for 4, but he hit the ball hard. He ran hard. This kid's got a chance. And a coach or somebody else might say, well, he didn't get any hits. Well, that's not what we're looking for. He's 14 or 15.
Right.
Who cares how many hits you got right now? Because that swing is not going to play at 18.
Right.
It'll be okay at 14, 15, but here's what you need to do to get better. And that's what we, hopefully in our reporting, is what we give people, is not only an accurate assessment of what we see, but also an accurate projective picture of what we think they can be. So that's kind of where we are. And that's all based on our knowledge and experience. I mean, we're not necessarily the smartest people, but we've got a lot of experience. And as a group, we kind of hammer this thing out. And that's the strength of it, is that, my 30, 40 years in it, coupled with Mike Toomey's and other guys. I mean, you're talking about, we sit in a room after games and we talk about guys. So that report that ends up coming out is a composite or a compilation of all of us, what we see, what we think. My name might be on a report, but I've taken some information from Orsino Hill, or maybe from Danny Bates or Ted Williams or Sean Murphy. That ends up in the report. So there you go.
Right.
I think Triple Crown's doing it really well. And I think they've got a chance the next couple years to really, as long as we stay the course and we continue to improve on what we're trying to do, we'll be fine. As I told John to start off with, this is a work in progress. So.
Right. No. Well, thanks for the kind words, Don. I know, the feeling's mutual there with you and those guys that are scouting for you. And I know I have some conversations lined up, with Danny and Mike Toomey and a couple other ones. I'd have to look at the list and everything, but feeling's mutual, and being a coach too and seeing you guys out there. I mean, there's nothing cooler than seeing you guys sit back there and just work, even just watching you watch players and the way you look at them and this, that, or the other thing. I can still remember us being at Iowa Western, sitting down talking to you. And I was like, oh, someone caught his eye there for a second, or something like that. Well, so and you guys do a great job, man.
Well, you guys, and as I said, I know that where we are is trying to make this thing better, and we're doing it together. That's the whole thing is as long as we work together on this thing, it's going to be pretty good. I don't see anybody ever catching up with where we are, because they've got to get out and find the right guys. And I think we found a lot of really the right guys. And this year has been a trial from the standpoint of, well, that doesn't work, or okay, I see the kid here. Okay, I see how much better they are. I mean, and it just takes a while. So, like I said, it's been very educational, challenging at times, informative, but still always, always, always enjoyable. I've always loved talking to you, and you talk about Iowa Western. I mean, that was, I love being at the ballpark, and I like talking to people who want to be at the ballpark and who want to be there for the right reasons. And that is, I want to help these kids get better. Most of us have been down our road of success or whatever in playing time, and well, we're done. Let's help somebody else get down that road.
Right. Awesome. Well, Don, thanks for taking the time, man, for jumping on here and everything, and looking forward to seeing you out in Arizona. And take care and enjoy the rest of your time, man.
Well, let's do some of this out in Arizona. Shoot, live is better, son.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man.
Mike, love you, man. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Don.
Right. Okay. Bye. Bye-bye.